Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. I'm Zach, and this is my fun little internet show about whitewater things. And today we'll talk about my Class 5 boater checklist. This builds on my Class 2 checklist, my Class 3 checklist, and my Class 4 checklist. So this isn't complete because there's a lot of stuff on the previous checklist. So watch the previous videos about those if you're interested. A good example is no drinking. You shouldn't be drinking if you're a Class 5 boater, but it's not on this list because it was on the Class 2 list. So again, this is a continuation of a discussion, and this is a set of skill sets and a mindset and just sort of a way of being if you want to be a Class 5 boater. It's not complete, so don't just because you can do these, don't go running Class 5 rapids. But at the same time, if you run Class 5 rapids and you don't do these things, I don't think you're a Class 5 boater. I think you can get down Class 5 rapids, but you don't have a Class 5 boating skill set. And again, this is just my opinion. This is what we teach in our rowing schools. This isn't, the American Canoe Association didn't come up with this. This isn't an IRF thing. This is just from years of teaching rowing and seeing things that I like and don't like in boaters, a list I've come up with. And it's a work in progress. I'm changing it. You know, if you have an opinion, think I should add something, delete something, change something, send me a note. Do it in the comments, send me an email. If you see me get put in on the river, pull me aside and be like, Zach, your list was dumb. Change these 3 things. I'm cool with it. I'm always trying to make this better. I definitely don't feel like I know everything by any means, but by doing this, I'm learning and getting better. So this is a way for me to just improve my own knowledge and thinking about Class 5 boating. So I consider Class 5 boating an example. That person leads by example. The Class 4 boater was the leader. This is the example. And the first one is able to set example and speak up when necessary. So a Class 5 boater can, set a good example for everybody else in terms of how they hold themselves, how they boat. But also if they see an egregious safety mistake or safety error, they're able to speak up and say something, which is hard to do. It's hard around your friends and your peers to say something, but a Class 5 boater has the ability to do it in a positive way. I mean, hopefully. It's hard to do. Next is in complete control and can catch all eddies in Class 4 rapids. So for me, I don't go do Class 5 boating until I've done some more of my Class 4 days, and I'm just like, I control the boat how I want to control it in the rapids. I'm not making mistakes. I'm not spinning off of rocks, and I can catch every little eddy, and I can just make my way down in a way I feel very comfortable. And once I've done that, I'll go run Class 5. If I'm not doing that, I'll just keep practicing until I get my mindset back, until I get my skills back. And you lose skills, so it's good to keep them under practice. Next, a Class 5 boater is a great communicator. I consider Class 4 and 5 boating as it's really important to have good team boating, working with the group. And a Class 5 boater, as an example, can pull everybody together before the trip and say, hey, I want to have a safety talk. I want to set this boat order. Can maybe question some things. And on the river can talk about how to run rapids and when to scout. So you need to be able to communicate to be what I consider a good Class 5 boater. Next is can use any equipment. And so, things go wrong. And sometimes maybe you end up in a different boat than you thought for whatever reason, or part of your boat breaks and you have to use whatever gear you can find. Being able to run pins and clips or oarlock, or being able to run a Hypalon Avon versus, a Sotar that's urethane. Being able to use any equipment I think is important, and not using equipment as your excuse if you make mistakes. Next is keenly aware of group safety. So you're boating down the river, and not only are you worried about yourself and running the rapids, but you're thinking about people in front of you and behind you. Of the lead boat, are they too far ahead? What happens if they fall out? You're thinking about the whole group in terms of safety, which isn't just like, you don't just do that in Class 5. A Class 5 boater will do that on Class 2. A Class 5 boater, this doesn't mean while you're doing Class 5. This means you're a Class 5 boater and you're always paying attention to the group no matter what the river you're on. And a good example, I do the wind a lot. And so when I go, I notice people who are doing this. I notice somebody in the back is waiting for people, or just keeping an eye on people. People in the lead are like in front but not powering too far ahead, paying attention to the people behind them, setting the pacing for the group really well. And those are the people I choose to go run harder rivers with. If you're just there for your own thing by yourself, I probably won't go run a harder river with you, because I want to be surrounded by people who are looking out for me when I'm on Class 5. Next is aware of the location and amount of group safety and first aid gear. So you know where all the gear is for first aid and safety. Typically you have a lot of it. You also know how much there is. And hopefully there's the right amount. Hopefully as a team brought all the stuff that you need. As a good boater, you should have a set of safety gear. And then you basically, like, you know, if a mistake happens, you know, the boat in the back has certain things, the lead boat has certain things, Joe Bob has a few things, and you know where everything is. And so if you have to get to it, you can easily get to it and make decisions based on that. Next is can determine boat order for the group. This is one of my favorites. I think this is so interesting. You know, you can show up to a group of friends or people you don't know and judge, you know, judge is a strong word. I would say judge them, but you can, you know, talk to them. And by the way that they hold themselves, by the way they talk, by looking at their equipment, you can make some sort of judgment about their abilities and how well they'll do that day. And then you can put them, if somebody's really strong, you know, put them in the lead, let them, you know, show people the way down. You know, if somebody's really good at safety, put them in the back so they can be last and catch up with problems. If somebody's struggling or nervous, have them follow you or somebody else. But you can think about the boat order, not just say, hey, let's all go and we'll figure it out, but sort of stand up and say, hey, here's where I expect people. I think it's really fun to figure this out for different groups based on their abilities. Next is can make good decisions about running rapids. You know, when you're doing class 4 and 5 a lot, you're running rivers you've never seen, running rapids you've never seen, or doing normal rivers at high flows. And so you can decide whether you need to portage sometimes, whether you need to line a rapid, you know, whether, you know, some people can run it and some people can't, but you can make good decisions about actually running the rapids. Next is can give good advice to other boaters about rapids. I think this one's huge. You know, when you're paddling with a group, people need advice sometimes, and so you can properly communicate. This is your ability to properly communicate with other boaters in the group about how to get down the rapid. So for me, I'll a lot of times keep it simple. So I'll start left, you know, halfway down, make your way to the middle, and then end left, for example. You know, so I'll explain that and I'll say, hey, repeat it back to me. And I want to hear them repeat it back. So it's important not just to say the words, how to run the rapid. Like the words don't have to just come out of your mouth. They have to be understood and executed by the other boaters. And that's a hard skill, but it's very satisfying when you know a rapid and you can properly communicate how to run the rapid to a fellow boater and they can have success. That's an amazing feeling. I love it. And it's definitely a class 5 skill. I think I almost enjoy that more than personally running the rapid. It just feels really good to me, but that's just me. Next is calm in stressful situations. A lot of people who boat class 5 a lot have just seen a lot of stuff go wrong. They've been in a lot of stressful situations. So when things do go wrong, and stressful might just be mistakes, but also when you're at the base of a waterfall, for whatever reason, you're elevated. Or when the river's rushing really fast in between rapids, you're elevated. You know, there's certain things, just the environment creates stress. And so it's somebody who can be calm even when there's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe somebody yelling and whistles blowing, you can kind of be zen. And part of that comes just from being in those experiences a lot. You know, if it's your first time being in that situation, it's hard not to be elevated and kind of nervous. But people who boat a lot, who are class 5 boaters, are calm when it gets like that. Next is can quickly reef flip and get back in the boat. So, you know, in class 4 skill was can reef flip and get back in the boat. Now it's you can quickly do it. And so this to me, you know, this is important for paddle boating, R2 of course, for like a light oar boat. You're like a big heavy gear boat, you're not going to quickly reflip it. You know, you're going to get back, you're going to get on top of it hopefully, or get to shore somehow. But like I'm thinking cataract here. So the people that cataract class 5 with, they consider a 45-second reflip the standard. So that means from sitting on your boat, being able to flip it, get back on top, flip it again, and sitting back in the seat in 45 seconds, which is a tough standard, but it's something you should be practicing so that if you do flip somewhere, whether it's class 3, 4, or 5, you can quickly get back on it and it's almost like you weren't there. And last is proficient in all swiftwater rescue situations. So whether it's a foot entrapment, whether somebody's just stuck on a rock, whether a boat is pinned somewhere, or whatever, there's a flip, we have to flip the boat back over, or broken equipment, you can handle all of that stuff. And as a class 5 boater, people are going to look to you to do that because they're going to see you as an example and a leader, so you need to have that ability to do it. If you don't, you can make this situation worse or just, you know, get nowhere, of course. And the last thing, I haven't added yet, but I think I'm going to add on, I've been thinking about this one a little bit lately, is non-judgmental. I think this is really important. I think a lot of boaters, when they go out there, if they make a mistake, it gets in their head and they feel like they're almost ostracized from the rest of the group. And so I think a class 5 boater, you know, if somebody makes an honest mistake, you know, can make them feel good about it, can build their confidence back, not just that day, but in boating in general. You know, I think if you're judgmental, people sort of might not boat with you anymore. They might stop boating, or it can also just affect the rest of the day. They're in their head and they're making more mistakes. So I think a Class 5 boater isn't judgmental. They're very calming and understanding of mistakes. Now, of course, if those mistakes are negligent, or if they're just like, you know, poor responses to things, yeah, maybe be somewhat judgmental, I think. I'm sort of torn on this. This is why I haven't quite added it yet. But I think a Class 5 boater is really good at providing a nice, safe environment for people to make mistakes. Because Class 4 or 5 boating, you probably are going to make mistakes. And it's how you deal with them that really is what matters. I think that's at least my theory on this. So that's my Class 5 boating checklist. Like I said, it's a work in progress. If you have additions, subtractions, let me know. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm digging the thumbs ups. I'm getting, you know, people are seeing this because some of you have thumbs up it more, so I appreciate it. If you want to give it a thumbs down, cool, do that too. Hopefully you don't, or just leave me a comment. You know, say, hey, this was super cool. This was not cool, but it's really fun for me to have these conversations with YouTube, and I get a lot out of it. So I really appreciate some of the side conversations we're having. And yeah, that's it. See you in the next episode.